Teamlab Borderless and Teamlab Planets are two of Tokyo, Japan's most popular attraction spots, but if you've clicked on this video, you obviously already know that. Both venues combine art, science, and technology to create immersive experiences that challenges all four of your senses and is truly unlike anything you've ever seen in your life, which makes these two places quintessential additions to your upcoming Japan trip. I mean, a simple search for things you must do in Tokyo, Japan would tell you that. And obviously, if you can, you should do both. But let's say you only have the time and budget to do one. Which one shall you do? There are also other factors at play, like for example, did you know that one of these Teamlab experiences are more physically demanding than the other? You see, whilst there are similarities between two of these venues, there are also notable differences between them that may influence your decision on whether you would include both Teamlab Borderless and Planets on your itinerary, or may only be doing one or the other. Lucky for you, I went to both during my recent trip to Tokyo, and so in this video, I will be comparing both places to help you make a decision. Additionally, I will also be talking about some things that you might like to know, bring, or even wear in preparation for these experiences. And so without further ado, let's jump straight into it. In this next section, I'm gonna dive into similarities between Teamlab Borderless and Teamlab Planets. I will also list out a quick checklist of things you need to be aware of at both venues so that you are prepared to make the most of your experience. Both Teamlab locations are best described as digital art museums, but it is unlike any museum you've ever been to. For one, they encourage you to touch and interact with a lot of the installations at both venues. In a lot of these spaces, how the art ends up looking really depends on you and your participation. Both Teamlab experiences uniquely combine visual and auditory art with science and technology to essentially dissolve the boundaries between the visitors and the art that they are observing. This also allows us as visitors to experience and thus appreciate the installations in a way that is truly unlike anything else you've ever been to. So whether you visit Teamlab Borderless or Teamlab Planets, you will be getting essentially the same immersive, interactive, and hyper-realistic experiences with the museum's installations. Secondly, unlike some traditional museums, you are allowed to take as many pictures and videos as you like at both venues. You can bring your phone or camera into the venue, but do note that you will need to be extra careful about taking care of your devices due to the interactive nature of both spaces. I personally waded past waters and some really dark spaces at both exhibits, and it would have been easy to drop my phone into the water or bump into a wall if I wasn't paying attention. Also, whilst recording devices are allowed, selfie sticks, tripods, and monopods are strictly prohibited, which is something I can totally understand as there is a lot of foot traffic in all the spaces at both venues, and some of these spaces can also be quite dark. You will also be doing quite a bit of walking at both venues, so I strongly recommend wearing comfortable clothing. You will also be asked to check in your bag into a locker before heading into either venue. Not to worry, the lockers are located very close to the exit point at both venues, so you can easily retrieve them when you're done. There is also no food inside either venue, and both would take at least 2 to 3 hours to complete, so I do recommend you eat something before heading in. Now that we've got the similarities out of the way, let's talk about the differences, because the differences between the venues is ultimately what's going to help you decide which one of these Teamlab experiences you're going to end up going to if you had to choose. So let's get into it. First, let's talk price point. Tickets for both venues open 2 months prior on their official website, by the way, so definitely recommend you book ahead before you go to avoid disappointment. Anyway, I purchased my tickets via Klook. My Teamlab Borderless tickets cost $28, whereas my Teamlab Planet ticket cost $50. Do note though that I bought the Skip the Queue tickets for Teamlab Planets. The normal tickets for Planets are much cheaper at $26. But let me just say that I'm so glad I bought the Skip the Queue tickets. I mean, just look at this queue. Taking aside the fact that I bought the Skip the Queue tickets though, the prices for the normal tickets are very similar. But for me though, the biggest and most noticeable difference between the two venues is that the Teamlab Planets experience is a lot more structured than the Teamlab Borderless experience. At Teamlab Borderless, you are basically led into a space and allowed to go anywhere you want. There are over 50 exhibits, some will take more effort to locate than others. As a result, you can end up missing out on some of the smaller rooms. Also, Also, as the name suggests, the art at Borderless is not confined to a space. So something you saw in one room could again appear in a different room, not to mention as the artwork changes according to the visitor's interaction, you could even walk into the same room twice and see something entirely different. And that's why I call Borderless a pick-your-own-adventure kind of experience. In comparison, the Teamlab Planets experience is very organized and guided. You will be instructed to enter the next space and so on, and in some sections you will even be briefed. You will be led through the entire Teamlab Planets experience in orderly fashion so that you can be assured you will see everything there is to see at Teamlab Planets. The second notable difference between Borderless and Planets is the type of interaction required. Whilst Borderless comprises spaces with different immersive artworks, it is dried throughout. Whereas the first thing you will have to do at Teamlab Planets is to walk up an inclined river. This is because they will ask you to take off your shoes before you enter the planet's experience, and the river contains disinfectant to clean and prep your feet for the rest of the exhibit. There are also some spaces that are equally as interactive. For example, this huge room that is essentially a jumping castle called the Soft Black Hole, and also this absolutely stunning pond full of colorful light kois that you will have to wade through. And so if you are traveling with very young kids or even elderly folk, I honestly think Teamlab Borderless is more suitable. But that is not to say that there is no interaction required at Borderless. It is just a different kind of interaction. Whilst the physical requirements is higher at Planets, not everything is touchable. For example, you are absolutely not allowed to touch this absolutely stunning floating water garden, but the kois in this pond move around in response to the people walking in it. At Teamlab Borderless, however, absolutely everything is touchable. In fact, the artwork in this space requires your participation in order to form its next iteration. But let's also talk outfits. You may have recalled me talking about the river and pond at Teamlab Planets. Due to this, they will also ask you to change out of your pants or skirts into a pair of shorts that they provide. There are also areas with mirrored floors at Teamlab Planets, and so if you do not opt for their shorts, please do not wear skirts. And also, whilst you are bare feet for Teamlab Planets, I'd recommend for you to wear a comfortable pair of walking shoes for Teamlab Borderless. In this next section of the video, I'm going to show you some of my personal highlights at both Teamlab Planets and Teamlab Borderless, which are unique to either location and could help sway you closer to your decision. And so if you don't want any spoilers, feel free to skip ahead to the last chapter for my overall thoughts. But if you're still here in 3, 2, and 1, I assume you like spoilers, so let's go. Let's start with my highlights at Borderless. I had seen the Crystal World space all over TikTok and Instagram before I went and was already all hyped up, and even then it did not disappoint. If you are going with kids or kids at heart, I strongly recommend the Future Park Sketch Aquarium, where you can draw your art and have it displayed live within the room. Pretty cute, and you can even get the artwork printed out on a shirt for keepsake. The tea house was another highlight for me. Watching flowers bloom out of a teacup magically into the room was honestly so mesmerizing. I also am absolutely obsessed with the flower forest, which is literally swirls of flowers of many types making their way across a huge space. And I also really enjoyed this space full of animals and samurais made out of smoke dancing away to a chant. But I have to say that the space that hands down blew me away, so much so that I was absolutely speechless, was the lamp forest. I mean, guys, come on, just look at this. In terms of Teamlab Planets, I absolutely adore the floating flower garden. I honestly could not believe my eyes that this could even be real. The flowers were not only stunning to look at, but you could also smell fragrant floral aromas in the space. Another one of my faves here was the dance of koi pond, and I could go on and on about it, but it is perhaps better for you to just see. This next space at Planets though was so trippy and is another one of my highlights. It's called the Falling Universe of Flowers and you feel like you're in a globe with spinning walls of flowers. It is best experienced lying down and much like the koi pond, I think this exhibit speaks for itself. I mean, if these alone don't convince you Teamlab Planets is worth going to, I don't know what will. With these differences in mind, let's tackle the big question of this video. Which of these two museums should you go to? Well, for me, I went to both Teamlab Borderless and Teamlab Planets as I felt both had unique selling points. Moreover, the price to see both was also not exorbitant at around $50 US. I mean, it is impossible for anything to ever top these experiences for me. And there is no way you can convince me that there are better immersive experiences elsewhere in this world. These have to be the absolute best there is. So I cannot choose, but if I was physically limited or traveling with kids or elderly folks, I would choose to do Borderless instead of Planets for the reasons I mentioned earlier. But if you do not fall into these categories and are traveling for the first time to Tokyo, Japan, then my advice would be for you to make time to do both. Why limit yourself? As a famous commercial once told me, "Porque no los dos." I have previously done a full lowdown on Teamlab Borderless and have included that video right here so that you can go ahead and dive into that next. I will also be uploading plenty of Tokyo, Japan content over the next few weeks, and so if you don't want to miss out, be sure to click on that subscribe button and also turn on post notifications so that you can be the first to know when a video drops. And also, please do like this video if you found it helpful and informative for you. It really does help the algorithm and me. Also, do feel free to drop me a comment to say hi as I love hearing from you. And if you got to this point of the video, I want to thank you so much for watching. It really does mean absolutely everything to me. As always, I hope that you have a fantastic day ahead or that you've already had a good day. I will see you very soon in the next video. Ciao!